Well, the fact that I listened to Chip Kelly on his phone, on his press conference today, and he said that that the offensive line can be fixed. The offensive output can be fixed just from the guys that he has there. And I'd rather him tell the truth and be more forthcoming and knowing what he has in front of him on that offensive line. I mean, those guys are to say the least, they're not starters in the NFL. And when you put them in a position to be a starter, you really take away a lot of what this team has just because they can't do the same things they had, and they're trying to run in the same system that they had when from the same guys they had last year. So you have a different set of guys that just don't play the same way. So don't tell us that they're all right when they're not.
Yeah, Barrett, you played the offensive line. I know you do a lot of breakdown on the film there. Quite frankly, to me, I mean, I'm no expert on reading film and seeing things, but what I see is I see the two guards getting pushed back, and then where there's a big problem is you're running out of that shotgun, and that end, it seems it's coming in, and he doesn't respect the fact that that quarterback is going to run, and he's just crashing down. So if the two guards aren't getting pushed back, there's still an end there disrupting the play, and if that end is – if the two guards are getting pushed back, now the running back's running into three guys. The inability for the quarterback to make the tuck and run has really been a problem for this particular rush offense, coupled with that offensive line.
Absolutely. They're supposed to be running a read option, and they haven't been doing that as much. I know a couple of times you can definitely tell that the outside rusher or the outside end, or even if it's a linebacker, is not respecting the fact that Sam Bradford can run, but on the other hand, he hasn't had the chance, he hasn't had the ability to go out and even have the opportunity to keep it and go around the corner. They're really not respecting that at all. Ends are crashing down. They don't care about Sam Bradford. They'll figure, I guess, they're going to just let him do what he does and not worry about the chance that he might be able to run with the ball and maybe make a first down. So that's number one. Number two, I think that, it's fine where Chip Kelly's offense has had enough research on it, has enough of a blueprint now that people know how to defend it. They understand how to stop this team from going out and executing this offense. So, I mean, maybe we've seen the last of these fast break type of offenses, these tempo-setting offenses, man.
Well, and if you could speak on that a little bit more, Barrett, if you're a team, okay, you play for the Eagles and you're playing Dallas twice a year, do you recognize the tendencies that they do on defense as a lineman because you are so familiar with them?
Yes. I mean, that's exactly what's happening, Mike. The teams, the Eagles have become so predictable because they haven't had an opportunity to go out and really do anything else because Sam Bradford's, number one, not ready for the full offense. I think he's really not as far as knowing the offense, knowing the keys, going into his second, third, and fourth reads in this offense. So he doesn't know exactly where everybody is. So he doesn't go into his second or third read. That's number one. Number two, the inability to have the right weapons out there is another thing that's really hurting the Eagles. Say what you want to say, letting, proven weapons like Shady go and, Jackson go and, the guys that they hear were making an impact, Jeremy Maclin go. You just haven't replaced these guys with formidable threats that they had when they were here. I mean, yes, you did, get Murray. Yes, you did get Ryan Matthews. And they probably are comparable to what Shady brings to the table, but they're just not Shady. And he wants to run the same offensive plays that he ran with Shady that he's going to do with these guys here, and you just can't do it. You can't run sweeps like they did with Shady because he's more of a shiftier, more of a craftier running back than the guys that he has there right now.
Yeah, Barrett's breakdown with us here. Barrett Brooks, Breakfast on Broad on the Comcast Network, 6 to 8 weekday mornings. Barrett, with this line, are we getting a fair indication of Bradford, the running backs, and the receivers in this game? Because Chip has said many times, execution and there's plays to be made, we're not making them. But with this offensive line, are the skill players getting a fair opportunity to show their true colors?
Absolutely not. They just can't do the same thing that the guys they had last year and the year before can do. I mean, Evan Mathis, you'll find that Evan Mathis few and far between as far as bringing in a guy like Evan Mathis. He was a journeyman. He really didn't, have a chance to really show what he could do while in Cincinnati and wherever else he was. So nobody really saw what he could do. They didn't see the type of player that Chip Kelly saw in him. But I think Chip Kelly still has that same mindset that he could take Andrew Garner, Tobin, and Kelly and plug and play these guys, and they're definitely not the same thing. So you can't run the sweeps that you ran with Mathis and Todd Herman because they're not as good at athletes. Kelly is not a good athlete, and Tobin is not a good athlete to get out and pull and get on the edge, get on the second or third level to block these linebackers and safeties, and get the ball. You definitely don't run the same couple of plays that you had last year as opposed to this year.
Yeah, so of all the moves in the offseason, I said, look, I don't mind you taking a swing with Bradford. I don't mind the running back changes, but it's the little parts. It's the parts of the team that is overlooked a lot of times. Those guards are really hurting this offense and what he wants to try to do, which is hand the ball to Murray between the guards and get 3 to 4 yards, get right back up on the ball, do it again so that defense gets worn down. But they can't do it because they can't block.
Yes, and it's not just the guards. It's Kelsey also because he's not a big fan of this offense because he's a smaller guy. He's a smaller center in the league, and he's like, he goes around 285, 290. And for him to think he's going to drive block these big ends, yesterday, last night, and even when I watched, I saw Kelsey get pushed around a lot. He didn't drive people off the ball. He got pushed around, pushed back, and he didn't have a good game simply because he's just too light in the butt to really sustain a drive block with guys that big. So what made him a great center when he was playing with Shady, when he was playing with Matthews, and guys can get out and pull, and he can block the second and third level because he's such a good athlete. It's really hindering now when he has to drive somebody off the ball. He tries to position block guys, and they're just they're not having it. They're just pushing them around on their way to the running back, which is creating a lot of penetration on the run plays. And penetration kills the run anytime you look at it.
No doubt. Barrett, what do you think of Bradford yesterday? I thought he finally looked like he was gaining some confidence. He finally made a couple throws where he ripped it, he let it go, made plays. He looked in the face, he looked body language-wise like confidence was following some plays. So I was encouraged by that, but overall I thought he was average.
Well, yeah, you did see that, but they put him in a better position to be successful, especially when throwing the long ball. What they did, they kept an extra blocker in or two at times, and they ran a little more play action to give him an opportunity to get down the field and get the receivers down the field. And that's the biggest thing you could do to help Sam Bradford, give him an opportunity to go down the field with protection. At first they ran a scat protection when they let everybody go. When they had 5 receivers going out on the route, that means whether it's a tight end, more receivers, and a running back, and nobody in to help the 5 offensive line block. So you have 5 blockers, and they bring a 6-man or a 7-man blitz. They can't pick them all up because there's only 5 of them. So in a sense, you have to go down. If you want to go deep, you have to bring in more blockers. You have to keep more guys in, run a little play action, run a little more max protection, and now he's able to go over the top, get guys open deep, and deliver a ball. On the plays in which, the Cooper and the play to Miles Austin for those touchdowns, it was simply a sense where they had an extra guy in the block, a guy to come in and help, a guy to pick up the blitz. So that's all that they did different from what they were doing the last 3 weeks.
Well, and if you see that happen then, Barrett, okay, if Riley Cooper and Miles Austin, no offense to those guys, but I don't know that they're getting behind too many guys on defense. That should show you the state of the Redskins secondary. Why aren't you dialing up that opportunity, that taking more shots down? But once you see that happen, why isn't that more consistently a part of your offensive game plan?
They should have picked on those defensive backs all day, but they just didn't have the opportunity because the offensive line did play well enough. They didn't give them protection. I will say that the last 2 games before this, in the Dallas game and also in the Jets game, they had time. They gave Sam Bradford time to throw the ball. They pass blocked a little better. But this last game, they looked like Swiss cheese, man. There were holes everywhere. Guys would get pushed around. Even Peters and Johnson had bad games when it came to pass blocking.
Yeah, and we know that Johnson's got an MCL sprain. He's got an ankle sprain. Peters left the game with the quad. And then obviously Tobin starts at right guard. He gets swung out to left tackle. You got Dennis Kelly in at right guard. I mean, so that, as you've mentioned many times, the continuity is very difficult when you got new players in the middle of a game, guys changing positions. I would assume that that is a very, very difficult thing to deal with in mid-game.
Yeah, it's not just them, not having an opportunity to have that camaraderie together, but, these guys just aren't good enough to be starters in the league, simply because these are backups to the backups. So they may not have the physical capabilities to be good in this league because they are backups, and that's what you need to look at, guys.
All right, Barrett Brooks with us. Let me get your thoughts on Kelly yesterday. I mean, what did you think of the game plan and just Kelly overall? I mean, it seems that he's starting to look frazzled. He's looking like a guy who's not confident on the sideline. You see him kind of kneeling down, and he just doesn't have great body language as the head coach of the team at times now.
Absolutely, and that's the problem. He's now seeing that there's a kink in his arm. He's now seeing that there may be some teams out there that have his kryptonite because they've had an opportunity for a year or 2 years to break down his offense and understand where he's going to go. They found tendencies, and they can pick this offense and this offense apart, as opposed to when he first got in the league when it was new and glittery and shiny. It's no longer that. It's now tarnished a little bit. So now he has to go in, reevaluate what he's doing out there, reevaluate the players that he's brought in this year, and see where he goes from here.
All right, Barrett Brooks on Mondays here with Barrett's Breakdown is obviously we could talk for 3-4 hours about the problems they're having, but obviously they got to get it right back together. They're still in the division race here against this Saints team that finally looked like they got their act together the other night, but by no means this is a very young Saints team playing on the road. You gotta if you can't win this game at home against this team, I think it's going to be a long year.
Yeah, it's going to be a long year period, because like I said, maybe we need to really sit down and think that, wow, we have to give Chip a pass because this is a rebuilding year for him or a retooling year for him, and he's not going as good as what he projected to be, and really look at him like the other three major sports, that, yes, they're retooling, he's bringing in his guys, and, until they get a year under their belt to gel together, they're not going to be as good as everybody looked at them.
All right, Barrett, we'll check in with Barrett after the Eagles and the Saints next week, where it looked like that guy Breeze looked like he was pretty good last night, Barrett.
Yeah, it did seem like he was hurt. Looked like he adapted to his injury, and he's going to be all right.
All right, man. Good to catch up with you. We'll talk to you next week, pal.
Definitely, bro. I'll talk to you later.